For this video in the opening series, I want to tell you one of my absolute favorite types of opener, a type of opener that I use personally all the time, okay? And this is the observational opener. What you're going to do in this case is you are going to notice something about the girl, and that's going to be the source of your material that you're going to use to start the conversation, right? Now, obviously, this immediately presents a problem, which is you have to be creative, right? You have to come up with something new on the spot. So as opposed to a purely canned opener, or as opposed to the, hey, you're cute, I want to meet you opener, you're not just mindlessly repeating a line. So it is a little harder to execute, but that also makes it better in a way, right? One, because it doesn't sound canned and scripted, because it is something you clearly have to have come up with in the moment, and two, because it forces you to be engaged. The problem with a lot of the scripted openers is that you can be disengaged while saying them, and then there's no power behind them, okay? So you're going to go in and you're going to observe something. And this thing you observe, ideally, or almost necessarily, has to be unusual. So if your observation is, hey, you're wearing blue jeans, that's not a good observation. But if the girl's wearing like some crazy bright yellow, or oh my God, that's blinding, that's a good observation, okay? So it needs to be something that you notice that's a little bit unusual, right? So you need to be aware, you need to be looking for it. And then what you're going to do with this unusual fact is you're then going to play with it. You're then going to play with it, and you're going to make some exaggeration about it, make some kind of tease about it. And what that does is it puts the girl on the spot, right? It puts the girl on the spot of she just had attention's on her, and there's an observation on the table, and she has to react to it, right? So you're automatically putting her in the mode of reacting to you as opposed to you in the mode of reacting to her, which is a very powerful thing. Now, the other thing that is tough about this opener is that you don't know what her reaction is going to be. And so you actually have to kind of trust yourself, right? It could be that she's going to be like, haha, that's funny, and it's going to be a very positive set. Or, hey, you're cute, what's your name? And it's a very positive set. It could be that you're going to get a shit test. A lot of times you actually will get some kind of shit test or some kind of resistance, which is totally fine if you know how to handle it, but you do have to be prepared for that, right? And then occasionally, if your delivery is not so good or the girl's just not in a good mood or whatever, you'll get okay, who are you? Why do I care? That kind of thing. And that's a reaction that is a possibility here as well. Because similar to when you do a direct opener where you are showing a lot of interest and kind of putting cards out on the table, less so, but you still are making it about her. And so the fact that you're making it about her doesn't inherently kind of put her in a position of some value. And so she may respond that way and give you kind of a hard time. So that's the downside that can sometimes happen with this opener. But the vast majority of the time, not only is this going to work, but what's going to happen is it's going to make the interaction relevant, right? It's going to make it obviously man to woman. It's going to make it obviously a situation where you're evaluating her, which is a frame that you'd like to have be the case. And you're giving away less of your power than you would if you went purely direct, all right? So as compared to the opener that most people use, it's better on many, many, many levels, all right? Now, if you want to do this opener well, what do you need to do? Number one, you need to be willing to observe and trust your observation and go with it, right? Because a lot of the observations you're going to make them in the spur of the moment. You have to just trust that they're good enough. And the good thing is this: if you believe in it, it usually will be good enough. Also, the more silly and off the wall it is, the better. So you don't have to worry about being prim and proper in James Bond. It's okay for it to be a little dumb. It's okay for it to be a little silly, right? In fact, if there is an exaggeration, that's a positive thing, okay? Now, what you want to do ideally beyond that, once you have the observation, is what's called justifying it, right? Which means you give some kind of context to it. So say that a girl was wearing some brightly colored stuff. You could justify that a lot of different ways. Maybe she really likes to have attention on herself, or maybe she just came from a rave, or maybe it's laundry day and it was the only shirt she had left, right? But you come up with some kind of justification, and now that exaggeration leads to some humor, some fun, and it can lead to banter. And that's what you're really going with here, is you're trying to use an opener that will initiate the banter, okay? That's what you're going with. You're trying to avoid the boring interaction, and you're trying to avoid the interaction where you've given all your power away, right? So in doing this interaction, in doing this, the opener and what it's going to lead to, you need to be confident in your ability to follow up, right? So this is not an opener that's going to do the whole thing for you, but it is an opener where if you have the skills behind it, it's going to put you in a great position to show that you have game. It's going to put you in a great position to flirt, to tease, to get the girl reacting to you, those kind of things, right? And the main skills that you're going to need here is, one, belief in yourself and creativity, and two, that ability to justify, right? And so this is something you can practice, right? So, I mean, you can walk around and just look at people like you're walking down the street. You see some old guy across the street, notice what's unusual about him, and come up with a justification. You see the teller at the bank, notice what's unusual about her and come up with a justification. You don't necessarily have to say it to him every single time, although you could if you wanted to, right? But just get yourself in the habit of finding these unusual things, finding the things to play with. The other thing you can do that's going to really help you with this style of opening is to watch funny movies and specifically watch or participate in improvisational comedy, because anything you're going to do that's going to like loosen up your comedy muscles is going to make you better here as well. Also, the more cultural references you have, the better. If you happen to know what's popular in the news, right, you can say like, oh, that was the most like Donald Trump look you just gave, right? And that is already a very incisive comment that a girl almost has to react to, right? What girl wants to hear that, right? But it's interesting. It's non-boring, it puts them on the spot, and it's going to create banter. Now, obviously, that may give you a shit test. A girl may be like, you should never tell a girl that she looks like Donald Trump, right? And you have to be prepared for that reaction. You can't be afraid of it. But the idea here, again, is you're going to create a little tension, you're going to create a little banter, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So if you go in and you get a shit test, don't think, oh God, it didn't work. No, that's what it is like when it does work. Now, probably I would say, the majority of the time, probably more than half the time, you'll get a positive reaction. And then the rest will be split between shit test and negative reaction. And I want you to remember, on the open, getting a shit test, getting a little bit of resistance and banter actually is a very, very good thing if you know how to handle it as well. Excuse me. You look so like ridiculously badass right now. No, you look like you should be on like some kind of like fitness show where you like wrestle a gorilla or something at the moment. I know that sounds silly, but I was impressed. Yeah, and I don't know, just that and the way you're dressed. I was like, this girl will not be boring. I think. No?
Definitely not.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name is Todd.
Todd.
Pleasure. Are you just coming from the gym, or you just like to show off the guns?
No, I was going for a run on the thing, and then I ate.
Do you go out every now and again and have fun, or are you a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Then perhaps I could entice you to a drink with a cute boy sooner or later.
Okay.
Okay?
That's good.
Sounds good? All right, cool. I'll take your number, yes.
All right.
It is Todd. I will text you right now.
Okay.
And so when do you work like 9 to 5, or do you work like crazy hours?
No, that's fine.
9 to 5? Okay, cool. Maybe we'll get a drink after work or something like that.
Very nice meeting you.
As well. You seem very lovely.
Thank you.